Hello and welcome to the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast. It is September 7th, 2024. This is episode 269. Stand-up comedian, improviser, and actor, but most of all, dreamer, Paul Green, coming to you from Los Angeles, California today. I have been in LA since Tuesday, as I am currently performing a run at the world-famous Magic Castle in Hollywood, California. Now, if you're asking, well, Paul, are you a magician? No, I am not. At least not the type of magician that you're thinking of. But I am a piano player. And I play piano for a magic duo who performs a couple times a year at the Magic Castle. And they do an incredibly fun, musical, improvised comedy magic show. Yes, it's all of those things. Comedy, music, improv, and magic. And their show is incredibly fun. It's somewhat vaudevillian. There's a big opening song and dance number. And then for the rest of the show, I pretty much underscore their different vignettes. And it's just an incredible experience. If you don't know what the Magic Castle is, it's this incredibly unique private magic club in Hollywood that every night has multiple magic shows. And when I mean multiple, I'm talking like there's like 5 different stages within the Magic Castle. It's this gigantic converted mansion in Hollywood. And on any given night, there's hundreds and hundreds of people there that can go to multiple magic shows that run multiple times throughout the night. For example, the magic show that I accompany for, we do 3 shows in one night. We do an 8 o'clock, a 10 o'clock, and 11:30. And that's just one of the stages. So it's just such a unique experience that I'm so fortunate to be involved with. And I know I've talked about this before if you follow the podcast, but to me, it's one of the many sort of side perks of going for whatever your dreams are in life, because sometimes things will happen that you didn't even know existed, or opportunities will surface that you couldn't have even thought to ask for because you didn't know they existed. And this is just one of those experiences where I was out in Hollywood, I was living out here, I was pursuing acting, I was pursuing comedy, I was pursuing improv, I was pursuing stand-up, all of these things. And I just happened to be a halfway decent piano player. I'm not like professional level, but I'm good enough. And through just these random connections, I end up getting invited to play piano for this magic duo. And I have now been doing it for almost 6 years that I've been performing with this magic duo, and they're incredible guys. They're so fun. And there has been some talk, now I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but there have been some talks of them maybe being able to produce this show in other parts of the country. There's been some discussions of possibly doing a show in Chicago and maybe even doing a show in New York on Broadway. You heard me correctly. Now, that's all in the works, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. But that has been what I've been up to this week. I've also noticed that, man, I have really been dropping the ball on doing my podcast daily. It has been a much taller task with all the traveling I've been doing and just how exhausted I've been. And ironically, the last episode I recorded was called Excuses. So, this is your first time tuning in. I made a commitment to myself back in November that I was going to film an episode of this podcast every day for 365 days. And I did really, really well up until about the last month. I have gotten a little lax, and I've been sort of, doing every other day, or it's like, oh, well, technically I filmed it last night, but I released it today, so maybe that counts for both days. So, I'm getting loose, everybody. I am getting I'm getting too lax. I gotta recommit. I wanted to do 365 daily episodes. I'm at day 269. I'm probably like, I don't know. I'm probably like 4 or 5 days that I've missed now. And it's not easy, but that's the whole reason why I committed to do this anyway, because it's not easy. It is so hard to commit to do something every single day and stick to it. And that was the whole reason I set this goal in the first place, because I have always struggled to set a goal and do it every single day. And honestly, recording a podcast, the way that I have the production side of it dialed in, is actually not that big of a commitment every single day. I talk for about 20 minutes. I don't necessarily do a whole lot of prep in terms of what I talk about. It's 95% off the cuff. If you follow the podcast lately, you know that I've been commenting on a couple of books, and so I make sure that I'm brushed up on whatever chapter it is I want to talk about. But other than that, it's just talking. I record it. I do a little bit of vocal enhancement, and then I upload it to YouTube. I upload it to a podcast distribution website, and that's it. So it's not like doing these every day is like a 3-hour, 5-hour, 10-hour type of commitment. It's probably about an hour of commitment, and most of that hour is me just waiting for stuff to upload. It's not like it's not like it's an actively involved 1 hour. So I'm at episode 269. I wanted to do 365, so I've got about 100 days left. I'm like over 2/3 there. So let's see if I can recommit myself, get back on track, and stop popping these babies out daily again. What do you say? All right. So with that, let's turn to the 2 books now that I am reading. One of them I am almost done with, and that is The 48 Laws of Power. And the other book that I say reading, it's listening to. I listen to them on Audible. The other book is called The Magic of Thinking Big, which I am thoroughly enjoying. The 48 Laws of Power, I did not enjoy this book, but I started listening to it, and I was just like, I know this is a very popular book, so I want to listen to this, understand that it's out there, understand that this is the mentality that that people do subscribe to, and then just read it, understand it, and then go, okay, although maybe I don't agree with those laws of power, and it's not that I don't agree with them in terms of are they efficacious in their application. I disagree with them in terms of, is that actually how you want to live your life? Because I know that that's not how I want to live my life. So the 48 Laws of Power really does look at power as the ultimate goal in life at the expense of all others. I don't look at power that way. I do look at power as, yes, you do need an element of power to have any sort of effect in the world. In order to survive, you need to have an element of power. In order to be successful, you need to have an element of power. But to me, not just because you have power does not necessarily mean that your power needs to be wielded with a with a selfish or a amoral constitution. And the way this book talks about power is just like, oh, whatever you need to do to get it. Doesn't matter who you hurt, doesn't matter who you victimize, it doesn't matter who becomes your enemies, it doesn't matter how fulfilled you are. It doesn't matter how happy you are. All that matters is that you now have power, and with that power, you will be successful. Although the book is just littered with examples of people who went and got power in these nefarious ways and then ended up getting conquered because of the way that they went about it. So I don't know. It's I didn't agree with the moral tone of the book. And I don't actually feel that power at all costs is the most fulfilling and joyful way to live a life. That's just my opinion on it. To me, I find life is most fulfilling when you have meaningful relationships in your life, and when you are able to obtain success by doing things that you have passion about, or that have meaning to you, and that you are then able to use that passion and meaning to be of service to others and to create meaningful, joyful relationships with others as well, whether they are personal relationships or professional relationships. As a performer, it's like, yeah, I have ambitions. I desire wealth and fame in all of its glory, but my desire to obtain that wealth and glory isn't, I don't want to obtain that at the expense of fans or at the expense of friends or at the expense of family. I want to obtain that success as a result of my relationship with friends, fans, and family. I want to provide such a joyful, uplifting, comedic experience to fans that they want to come and see me, and I want to perform for them, and I want to allow that to then also drive deeper relationships with my family. Not like I need to neglect them to go get fame and fortune, or neglect friends, or collect romantic relationships, all of that. Now, maybe I'm idealistic, but like I said, I'm a bit of a dreamer. So yeah, I have a bit of idealization, and I recognize that. I understand that there's also a practical side to life, and that there is an unpredictability of life, and there are definitely bad things that can and do happen at any step of the way. However, I have found that worrying about the potential bad things that can happen doesn't actually make life any better, because those things will always be there. So to avoid or neglect the great things that can happen, or the great things that are happening, or the incredible relationships and experiences that are a reality right now, I don't find any value in neglecting the positive by acknowledging that, yes, bad things can also happen, and definitely not by living life as though bad things are going to happen. If that makes sense. I don't know if I worded that very well. Don't let the fear of the future neglect the joy of right now. And I don't know. At the end of the day, in my opinion, all there is right now. I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen in the next hour. I don't know what's going to happen tonight. I know what's going to happen tomorrow. I have a pretty good idea, but there is always this variable of the unknown, and that fear of the unknown can rob us, and I've definitely allowed it to rob me of the great things that are a reality right now. So, anyway, the 48 Laws of Power, Lord bless it. It is what it is, and the book has been informative, but I definitely can say that I do not feel I will be utilizing any of these laws in my pursuit of my life goals and my dreams, and what it is that I'm seeking in life. So the good news is there's only 2 chapters left, everybody. I am almost done commentating on all 48 laws of the 48 Laws of Power. So I'm going to start with that, and then I'm going to talk about the magic of thinking big. So today's law of the 48 Laws of Power is: do not go past the mark you aimed for. In victory, know when to stop. So this is kind of an interesting law because I do feel that there is some valuable principles in this concept. Perhaps maybe not necessarily how the book is demonstrating it, but I look at this as this idea that I think it is easy for us as human beings to always be looking for the next thing to bring us happiness. That's how I interpret this law, right? There's this idea that, oh, well, once I get the certain job, or once I get a certain level of income, or once I get a certain relationship, or once I get a certain house or a certain car, then I will be happy. But then what happens? You get the car, you get the relationship, you get the job, you get the income, and then all of a sudden you go, oh, well, now I want the next thing. Now I want the bigger house, the nicer car, the bigger income, et cetera, right? And so it turns into this never-ending cycle of happiness is always over the next horizon. And that, to me, I think, can really lead to a lot of frustration and really an unhappy life, because you have trained yourself that happiness is never where I'm at. Happiness is never with what I have right now. Happiness is always when I get the next thing. And then as soon as you have the next thing, you are instantly unhappy because you're not happy with, you're never happy with what you have. So I do think that there is some value of going, hey, once you aim to get something, be happy with it and celebrate it. Now, the flip side of that is, well, wouldn't that lead to complacency, and wouldn't that lead to a lack of drive to grow and to accomplish and to learn? And there is some value to that as well. So how I look at it is, be happy knowing that you are pursuing something, and also be happy with what you have. And that is the philosophy that I have tried to adapt and that I try to live by. It's like right now, I am incredibly grateful for the experiences that I have, and I'm very happy when I get to perform for, an audience that is, maybe only 50 people. Now, would I love to perform for an audience of 3,000? Heck yeah. And am I pursuing these bigger audiences? Absolutely. But not at the expense of being happy with the audiences that are coming out to see me right now. And that, to me, is sort of the missing link there. Learning to be happy and grateful for everything that is true right now. Also finding joy and happiness in the pursuit of greater, but understanding once you get greater, you're just going to be happy and grateful for whatever it is that you accomplish then. And I do really feel that so much of that actually is the choice of your mindset, or the choice of my mindset. Because I do think that so much of that is a choice. It is a choice on how I choose to perceive and how I choose to feel on any given day about any given circumstances. And I know for me, it doesn't always feel like a choice. It just feels like, oh, I'm unhappy because I'm supposed to be, and this is how I feel, and there's no other choice in the matter. I've had enough experience where I've been able to alter my perception of events that I really do think that happiness is a choice. I think that gratitude is a choice always. And And it's all based on how I choose to perceive, how I choose to feel, how I choose to react, and the meaning that I choose to attach to certain events. This is sort of a generic example, but when I first moved out to Hollywood, of course, there's so much discussion about going out for roles, auditioning for roles, and not getting the role. And that can be crushing to actors when they go out for something and they don't get it. And sometimes it is crushing. And that happened to me as well. When I was auditioning, when I first moved out to LA and I wouldn't get stuff, sometimes it would mess with my head and, oh, I'm never going to be successful. Oh, I'm not good enough, and all of that stuff. Over time, though, I started to realize, you want to know what? What I book and what I don't book actually has very little to do with me. There are decision makers. It's not a personal decision to them. They're just trying to fill this role with whoever they think is the best fit. And if I'm not the best fit, it actually has nothing to do with me. And now when I audition for something, I don't think I audition, then I don't even think about it. And if I get it, I get it. If I don't, I go, well, that wasn't right for me, but something else will be, because I booked other stuff. And that is a choice that I have decided to make. And I used to make a different choice. I used to let it get to me. I used to let it bother me. So anyway, choosing to be happy with where you are at, choosing to be grateful with where you're at, and also choosing to find happiness and joy and gratitude just in the ability that you can also pursue and grow and expand and seek out other opportunities and experiences that may not be within your current reality. Like, I just think it would be really cool to experience actually obtaining a level of fame. That doesn't mean that I'm unhappy with the level of fame I have now. I just go, I'm very grateful right now. And I will be grateful for whatever level of fame I'm able to obtain in the future as I'm pursuing different goals and different dreams. So I'm not pursuing those from a state of lack or a state of, well, my life won't have meaning or happiness or joy until I get to a certain level. Because Lord knows we have plenty examples of rich and famous celebrities whose lives are miserable, and their fame and fortune didn't bring them any more happiness of anything, and actually maybe made it worse. All right, so that's the 48 laws of power. That's law 47, which is, don't try to achieve more than what you aim for. In victory, learn when to stop. So that's my thoughts on that. Again, I sort of took what their law is and sort of just altered it to what I pursue is a more valuable mindset. That's not necessarily what that law was talking about if you listen to the book. Fair enough. Go listen to the book, and if you like what they have to say, there you go. So now with that, let's move over to The Magic of Big Thinking. Now, this book I'm very much enjoying. And the chapter that I read today is called Build Confidence and Destroy Fear. So, this chapter, very valuable to me, and it really got me thinking about so many times in my life where I had such a lack of confidence and how much fear that I was allowing myself to be governed by. Like, I was so governed by fear because of my lack of confidence. Lack of confidence in myself, lack of confidence in my resources, lack of confidence in my personality, my skill set, across the board. And I actually remember, this was probably in my 20s. And in my 20s, I was just struggling in the dating market. I was trying to date. At that point in my life, I was trying to find a spouse. I wanted to start a family. and it just was not working out for me. I could not seem to attract a woman who I really liked and who really liked me back and who I actually felt like, oh, this is somebody I can see myself being with. It was always the women that I could see myself being with weren't interested, and the women who liked me, I wasn't interested in return, right? It was that whole dichotomy. And the number of women interested in me was far and few between. And I distinctly remember this one time I was talking to this buddy of mine I used to go to church with, and this dude was just the coolest guy on the planet. He was handsome. He was incredibly successful in business. He was in the finance industry. He did like mortgages and financing, and he owned a bunch of like large properties, and he was single. And I remember he drove like this really nice Lexus. He owned a big house. Handsome, charismatic, smart, and all of the ladies, we used to go to church together, all the single ladies in our congregation just were swooning after this guy. And I remember, and he was a really cool guy. We became friends. And I remember I was kind of commiserating with him about, how I was struggling and, I couldn't seem to, attract women and all this stuff. And he just goes, Paul, the number one thing that women look for in a man is confidence. And I remember when he said that, I was just thinking, yeah, no duh. I'm not behaving with a lack of confidence because I feel that's strategic. Like, I'm not consciously being unconfident. I'm not confident. Like, at that point in my life, I was not a confident man. And I just went, yeah, okay. But then the question becomes, well, how do you get confidence? Like, what does confidence even mean? And how do you balance confidence with delusion? And because Lord knows nobody wants to be the person who's like, oh yeah, I can do something. Oh yeah, I'm confident. And then you go out and like publicly embarrass yourself, which by the way is also a fear. And what I like about this book is the book talks about how really to gain confidence really comes down from taking action, developing skills, developing resources, and by proving to yourself that you can show up and that you can be successful. But there's always going to be a fear. There's always going to be a fear of failure. There's always going to be a fear of embarrassment. There's always going to be some underlying thought that something is not going to go well, or that I've been doing comedy for years and years and years and years, yet every single time I step on a stage, there's always this part of me that goes, this could go bad. It is possible that this audience will not find you funny. And really what the book is trying to say is that having a fear can often be paralyzing, but the only way to conquer fear is through action. And I think there's another element of that understanding is that sometimes when you do take action, it is not going to go well. But allowing yourself to go, hey, at least I took action. I'm going to be okay if it doesn't go well. And then all I need to do is regroup and try again. Same thing with stand-up comedy. I've bombed so many times. I've told so many jokes that are not funny. I've had shows that have gone horribly bad. I've been booed before. I've totally lost audiences before. And sort of piggybacking what I was talking about earlier on in the episode about learning to find joy and happiness no matter what. Because I could have chosen to take those experiences of, oh, I just bombed. Oh, that joke just didn't go well. I could then I have a choice. I could then go, well, that joke bombed because I'm not a funny person and I should quit. Or I can take that and go, that joke didn't go well, or that performance didn't go well. I wonder why that didn't go well. Now I can learn from that, and now I can improve. I can make adjustments, and then all I need to do is take action again. And the more I take action, the more confidence I'm going to build. The more confidence I'm going to build, the fewer times I'm going to experience, things going poorly. And the less I experience things going poorly, then the more things are going to go well. And the more things are going to go well, it's going to improve upon my confidence. But it all starts with the idea that I need to take action. The only way to overcome fear and to gain confidence is in taking action. Whatever the next step is, whatever the next thing that you can do. You have a fear of getting rejected, all you can do, go get rejected. Go out there and ask a woman for a number, or ask a guy out, or whatever it is. Or, if you have a fear that you're not attractive enough or whatever it is, take action. What can you do to make yourself more attractive? Does that mean getting more healthy? Does that mean exercising? Does that mean changing up your wardrobe? Does that mean, getting a hairdo? I hate using this analogy because it all sounds so superficial, but but there's definitely merit to this idea. And actually, I remember doing that in my 20s. I remember talking to another buddy of mine. I was like, hey, dude, can you help me dress better? Because the dude just dressed better. I didn't know anything about fashion. I didn't know how to dress cool. I didn't know how to dress fashionable. That wasn't something that I really understood. My buddy was like, heck yeah. So he was like, yeah, let's go. And then we went shopping. He was like, these types of pants, these types of shirts, wear these types of shoes. And by the way, throw everything else in your closet out. Right? It was like taking action. Take action. Whatever it is that you're afraid of, wherever it is you are lacking confidence, the only way to conquer fear and gain confidence is by taking action. And that is something I completely agree with. And I have seen that play out multiple times in my life to where now I am the most confident man on the planet. Just kidding. Still have my insecurities. I still have my don't knows. I still have my fears. And the only way I know to conquer those fears is by taking action, looking him dead in the face and go, oh, I'm afraid. I'm afraid of failure here. I'm afraid of losing money here. Or I'm afraid of, getting hurt. Or I'm afraid of loss or whatever it is. Fair enough. Those fears are always going to be there. They're never going to go away. Life is always going to be have an air of unpredictability about it. We never really know what's going to happen. What's going to happen with the economy? What's going to happen with the environment? What's going to happen with the weather? What's going to happen with the people in our lives? We just never know. So just embracing that, understanding that, and then just taking action when and wherever we can to conquer those fears, gain confidence, to me is really the only way forward. The only effective way forward. So those are my thoughts today, everybody, on the 48 Laws of Power. Only got one more chapter there, and then the magic of big thinking. So I will be continuing on with that book once the 48 Laws of Power wraps up here. All right, everybody, that's all for me today. I've got 6 more performances at the Magic Castle. I'll be performing there tonight. I'll be performing there tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm very excited. My mom and my girlfriend are going to be flying out to Hollywood to hang out with me, and I'm going to get to take them to Hamilton and the Magic Castle. So that is going to be a very fun day for me. Very fun weekend, very exciting, and I hope all of you are doing well. You're all pursuing your dreams, whatever it is that you're afraid of. I give you permission to take action Look those fears in the face. I promise you will survive as long as your fear isn't like jumping out of an airplane without a parachute or something. Don't do that. But take action, everybody. Take whatever the next logical action you can think of to move yourself forward, stare your fears in the face, and whatever it will take to gain confidence as you move forward. All right, everybody, that's all for today. It is September 7th, 2024, episode 269 of the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast. I love you all so much, and I will talk to you tomorrow.